You don't think that there really is any clear-cut distinction between male and female as biological categories, is that correct?
So I do not define what a woman is because I do not identify as a woman. Womanhood is something that is an umbrella term.
Well, 3 years ago, a Florida family story went viral for raising a gender-neutral baby.
I identify as non-binary.
I was fast-tracked onto puberty blockers and then testosterone.
Gender clinics across the country have seen a huge rise in child referrals.
I have been misgendered 3 times in the past 24 hours.
I'm a member of the transgender community. More accurately, more specifically, I'm what you call gender non-binary or gender non-conforming.
The next dictator won't be from North Korea or the Middle East. It will be a rainbow hair lunatic with 65 genders. Try having a basic conversation online today about simple biology and watch how fast the entire room explodes. We have officially reached a point where stating objective, observable facts gets you labeled as a danger to society. Welcome back to Plug Law TV. Today, we are taking a deep dive into how modern ideological movements shifted from advocating for basic human rights to behaving like dogmatic authoritarian cults. What used to be a reasonable push for individual liberty and equal protection under the law has been completely hijacked by a vocal minority of hyper-radical and mentally unstable idiots. And if you dare to step out of line, question the current woke orthodoxy, or simply point out basic reality, you aren't just disagreed with, you are cancelled like a domestic terrorist, aka Osama bin Laden. When authority figures and legacy media refuse to define basic terms like woman out of fear of social backlash, it signals to the public that ideology has completely destroyed reality. It creates a culture of forced compliance where people agree in public while shaking their heads in private.
How many genders are there?
Many.
My name is Diddy. And I'm non-binary. My pronouns are she, they. And I'm queer.
What a gift to be here for who we are, this queering of the church.
Happy Pride to everyone except for my 7 children who have all betrayed me by being straight.
Welcome back to hell. Between 2016 to 2018, the rainbow flag went through a metamorphosis of sorts, getting a makeover with the Philadelphia and Progress Pride flags. There's so many P's in all of this. Adding stripes for non-white people and trans identities. Since then, they've added the intersex symbol, because
And the other new addition to our flag is the 2 feathers in the circle, which represent indigenous folks that identify as two-spirit. 1 feather represents feminine identity, 1 feather represents male identity, and the circle that holds them together represents the unification of both identities.
Somewhere along this road, Canada went even further, rolling out an even more absurd acronym, 2S LGBTQI+, in official speeches and other documentation.
There's been a dramatic spike in violence and discrimination targeting the 2S LGBT community.
It's Pride Month. It's a time to celebrate the 2S LGBTQI+ community.
To accelerate social and gender justice for 2S LGBTQI+ people in Canada.
Advocating for human dignity and respecting LGBTQ individuals does not require us to abandon biological reality, free speech, or critical thinking. It's time to separate genuine human rights from radical ideological conformity. To understand how we got here, you have to look at the massive shift in how activism operates. Historically, movements focused on expanding individual freedom, ensuring that consenting adults could live their lives, work, and love without state interference or discrimination. Most reasonable people agree with that core premise, well, unless you are Al-Qaeda or the Taliban. But over the last decade, the driver's seat was handed over to radical academic theories and online fringe groups. Instead of asking for tolerance and equal rights, the new vanguard demands absolute ideological compliance. They aren't asking to live alongside traditional definitions and biological realities. They are demanding that society completely erase those definitions and reconstruct reality around their specific political worldview. If you feel like an octopus, then we should all pretend that humans don't have 2 legs and 2 arms.
In 2018, they were pushing to erase women from discussions around pregnancy, motherhood, and menstruation, arguing it excluded trans men and non-binary people. They pushed to change terms like woman to uterus owner or mother to pregnant person. Politicians started adopting this language.
The largest labor union in the country, the National Education Association, had been proposing a resolution for future contracts to replace the word mother with birthing parent.
You shifted in places from using the term mother to birthing people.
Health equity for Black birthing people.
And birthing people.
Birthing people.
When asked, American judges couldn't and refused to define what a woman is.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition? No.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in this context.
So
I'm not a biologist.
To be clear, you wrote this while you were a sitting judge, 2017? You were on the bench?
That is correct, after a case I had.
So as I understand it, you don't think that there really is any clear-cut distinction between male and female as biological categories. Is that correct?
That is not correct.
That's what you wrote.
Despite raging wars and global upheaval, trans activists still manage to find something to have a meltdown about. Sky News All-Stars Rita Panahi, Liz Storer and Piers Morgan exposed the epidemic of angry trans activists. Transgender athletes competing in women's sport has always caused heated debate amongst competitors. Rita Panahi spoke to an MMA fighter who copped backlash for simply speaking out.
You faced a bit of a backlash for simply talking about your experience and concerns. Tell me about some of the vitriol you've copped over this issue.
Yeah, so the backlash is pretty much just saying, you won, why do you have an issue with this? Even though I've stated a million times it was never about me. I clearly beat them. That's not my issue. The issue is that there are girls that are legitimately afraid. And they should not have to be afraid when they're seasoned competitors going into this. Like, they've done this hundreds of times. They know what they're doing. And the girls I've talked to that also experienced this said they have never felt so unsafe in a grappling match.
This is precisely where the movement began adopting the mechanics of a cult. In a healthy political discourse, people are allowed to disagree, ask questions, and debate nuances. In a dogmatic cult, heresy is completely forbidden. Look at how reasonable everyday people, including many gay, lesbian, and traditional queer individuals, are treated when they push back against the excesses of modern gender theory. The moment a moderate voice says, hey, maybe we should maintain separate categories for women's sports, or maybe children shouldn't be making irreversible medical decisions, the mob turns on them with nuclear intensity. The radical fringe doesn't represent the majority of everyday people who just want to live their lives. Instead, these activists make an entire demographic look like unhinged ideological enforcers, alienating the very public support that took decades to build.
Sky News All-Star Piers Morgan exposed the bias in powerlifting after speaking to a woman who was stood down from competing after she spoke out against trans athletes in the sport.
Well, April, first of all, I'm appalled that you've been suspended, and I'm even more appalled that you've been suspended for stating what appears to be a simple fact. You were talking about the fact that a biological male who identifies now as a woman and is a trans athlete was getting an unfair advantage because of their physiology over you. For stating the bleeding obvious, you're the one now who can't compete.
Yeah, exactly. I guess saying truth and fact, calling Andrus a biological male is considered hate speech and goes against their social media code.
Why did this happen so fast? Because institutions completely caved out of fear. Corporations, universities, and media outlets became terrified of online outrage mobs. Rather than standing firm on basic common sense, scientific accuracy, or open debate, major institutions surrendered their standards to avoid being targeted by a few loud accounts on Twitter or TikTok. If you want a society that remains grounded in truth, Reasonable people need to start speaking up without fear of bad faith labels. Drop a comment below with your thoughts on how modern discourse has changed. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications for Plug Law TV, and let's keep the conversations real. See you in the next one.